Now YouTubers, today I'm going to show you how to test an alternator with my Terminator. That's what I happen to use. You can use multimeters and all that sort of stuff, but I like this because this one is actually designed to work on all cars, even with CAN bus wiring and all sorts. It doesn't send any spikes. It's really good. But anyway, a couple of things you have to be aware of. One, you'll see an engine light, not an engine light, a battery light. I'll put it up there. You'll see that on your car. Now that can mean one or two things. It can mean your fan belt's snapped or come off. It can mean your alternator's gone, or it can mean your battery's gone. Obviously the fan belt's easy to check. You can physically stop, pull over and see if your fan belt's still there. If your fan belt's still there, then it can only really be between your battery and your alternator. It can be loose connections and all that sort of stuff, but mainly it's going to be between your battery and your alternator. And this is a way to test it. So we're going to test it on this car. I have two cars here side by side, one with a good alternator, one with a bad alternator, and we're going to see what the difference is. Let's get cracking. Right, I'm going to do this kind of outside because obviously the engine's on. I'm just going to show you how to check it. The easiest way to do it is turn everything on your car. Turn your headlights on full, turn your heater on, turn your radiator on, radio even. Turn as much on as you can. We're going to go to the car now and we're going to read it. Hopefully you're still going to be able to hear me. Obviously the engine's on, so it's going to be quite tricky. But everything's on in my car. As you can see, the headlights are on, absolutely everything's on. And the reading we've got is 14.5, 0.6. Now that is as high as you want it to go. You don't want it any higher than that, and you don't want it any lower than, say, 13.5 volts. I just turn that off now. So yeah, you don't want it any lower than 13.5 volts. Around 13.9, 14.2, possibly that's the highest reading you really want. So that's it. Now we're going to go to this car. As you can see, the jump leads are still on because the alternator is absolutely bagged. So we're going to see what this one reads. Hopefully it starts. Let's see if it starts and see what happens. Nothing. Put the old jump leads back on. Now, as you can see, we've got this car started, and the engine, well, the battery light, it's just going off. Not because there's nothing wrong with it, it's because there's hardly any power in this, and it can't even power the light. Now this car, I'd say, is about to cut out, and there it goes. We'll put a bit more charge in it, and we'll show you how to test the alternator. That's another thing. Obviously your car will cut out, especially if you've got your lights on, because you've got no power in your battery to run your pumps and all that sort of stuff. We'll just check this. Hopefully you can hear me over the engine, so I'm going to put the old tip on there. I haven't turned everything on, and see what we get reading. We're only getting, let me change hands. We are only getting 11.8. That's not even going to be enough to keep this car running. So that's how we definitely know the alternator on this car is bad. Now if it's the battery, it would obviously, the alternator would be reading fine, and obviously it still do the same problem now. So what we need to do now is, I'm going to turn this off. Turn the old light on. So we're going to have, there's the alternator. As you can see, the fan belt's still on, so obviously we know that's not a problem. And also a good thing to do is just check the fan belt is tight. The fan belt is also tight, it's not loose, but normally when they're loose you'll start hearing them squealing. So what we've got to do now is take off the alternator, get it reconditioned, and bang it back on, and it should be golden. Let's do that. Now, as regards taking an alternator out, most cars are the same. Some are slightly harder than others. This one happens to be quite easy. Some of them have automatic tensioners, some of them don't. Like this is the older version, so this one doesn't. You can kind of tension yourself with a bar, not a big deal. Some of them are automatic tensions. The beauty thing with the automatic tension is when you put a new belt on and it stretches over time, automatically stretches. It's great. So anyway, first thing, most important thing you need to do is disconnect the battery. So we're going to show you all that. And like I said, most cars are the same. Certain Volkswagens pop to mind. and Mondeos and stuff that are a fucking nightmare to take off. Just takes time. This one's fairly easy, so we can film this one and let you see how it works. The best thing to do as regards disconnecting is disconnect your power. So if you disconnect your earth and it touches on the body, it's going to earth itself, so it still could spark and cause you problems and blow fuses and stuff. So I'm going to disconnect the power. This happens to be a 12mm. Some are 12mm, some are 13, some are 10mm, some are 11. It just depends on what you actually get. So you twist that off and you put it where it can't hit the battery. Doesn't matter if it hits an earth, it's not connected, but make sure it doesn't hit the old positive lead on the battery. That's the first thing. Now I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this, because obviously I'm on my own today filming, so it's going to be very difficult to try and get in. But hopefully you're going to be able to see what I'm doing. It is fairly straightforward. There's normally anywhere from, say, 2 to 3, possibly 4 bolts holding the alternator on. That's all really. But obviously this one first, we're just going to have to take away the air breather and a couple of vacuum pipes, just so we can get to it a little bit easier. Big enough so we can see the wood for the trees. Now I'll just try and get in there a bit better with the camera so you can see how many bolts we got. It's just looking like we've got 2 on this one. Fairly straightforward. Now this particular one, this bolt here is the actual tensioner. You can see the slot where my finger is, so that's, you kind of wedge your bar in there and you lift it back, but again I'll show you that when we're putting it back on. That's how you tension it. That's the first bolt to come off. Then you have a plug. Some of them have, well, most of them have a plug here and a bolt, a wire that's bolted on. This one happens to be here where my finger is. Again, I'll show you that when it's out. So it just looks to be like one more big bolt right down there. Obviously I can't show you, but I'll show you when the alternator's out so you'll be able to see. But there's just 2 bolts on this. A couple of wires, and that's it, and it's off. So the first thing I'm going to do is to loosen off the bolt for the tensioner, take the fan belt off. It's just a little bit easier. As with most alternators, you don't need particularly any special tools. Just a couple of spanners, screwdriver and stuff like that. You don't particularly need a lot. So this is the tensioner, so I'm going to take this off and release the fan belt. Now, that's the bolt off. Simple. What that does is that holds the top of the alternator, but it also keeps it tensioned as well. So just 2 things. So we should be able to literally get a hand and push the alternator back now. Yeah. Now, that's all I've done is push the alternator back. The fan belt then, as you can see, comes off. There's the fan belt. You leave it there. There's no point moving it. You can leave it there, and just makes it a lot easier when you come to put it back. Now we're going to take off the plugs, and the reason you disconnect the battery is because when you take off the plugs you have a live lead, and you don't want that to be touching and crossing things, because that could cause, well, possibly cause a fire, but pop your fuses and damage stuff. You don't really want to be doing that if you can avoid it. So there's the first plug. See, it's got a load of white crap out, so we can clean that, but that's your first plug, look. The next one is normally a bolt. There's a little cover on it. Now, like I said, I'm sorry about you maybe can't see it, but I'll show you once I get it off. This happens to be a 10mm. This happens to be a 10mm. Now it's a little 10mm up. And this is off. And that's all it was. This and the plug. That's it. That's the only wires that are on it. So literally now, all we've got to do is the bottom bolt that's kind of right on the bottom. and the alternator's out. Simple, isn't it? Now what's normally easy is to push the alternator back towards you. Now I'm just going to show you inside there so you can see what I'm talking about. Now that's the alternator there. I've literally just, I'll show you, I've just pushed it with my hand, look. It should be up to there, and I've just pushed it down. And as we can now see, the bolt that goes all the way through goes there, all the way through to there. So we've got to undo that, and that's it, I'm afraid. On this car, obviously it is a lot easier. Some cars, like I said, are a nightmare, but it's as simple as that. That's how you check it, that's how you take it off. Then we're going to get it repaired, put it back on, test it again, and we should be golden. Right, the last bolt is a 14mm spanner. All I've used is a 14mm spanner, a 10mm spanner, and a 12mm spanner, and a Phillips screwdriver. That's it. That's all I've used on this. Nothing special, nothing fancy, absolutely nothing. And it's off. So just take this last bolt off now. Or nut and bolt, should I say. And look, there it is. That's it. So all we've taken off is the 10mm that holds the power wire on, the tensioner bolt, and the big bolt at the bottom. That's it. And this alternator, it's off. Bit of wiggly now just to get it out of its case. And now look, that's her. Simple as that. Right, this will be part one. I'll do part two, putting it back together once I get it back from being fixed. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thumbs up and subscribe. Don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.